What's up, everybody? Walter Benasiak here. Thank you for checking out the Awesome Walter YouTube channel. Today, we are talking about Superman, the animated series, that version of Superman, that show, versus the Fleischer Superman, the original cartoons from the 1940s, the first pieces of media outside, I believe, of the comic books that were created. And these two match up a lot better than you would think. And we'll get into comparing these two right now, starting with Superman, the animated series. If you saw my top 5 best episodes of Superman the Animated Series, you know that I have a ton of respect for this show. Obviously, it's Bruce Timm, Paul Dini behind this series, and all those great creators from the DC animated universe, you know, spinning out of Batman the Animated Series and later into Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And this show was amazing. I still am surprised at how good it holds up all this time later. There are some really dark moments in the show that you wouldn't expect. It really pushed the Superman character into new situations and modernized him in a way that didn't feel forced. It felt natural in the progression of his character and the different things that they did with him. Now, I think that this version of Superman is not exactly the classic do-gooder Superman. This Superman definitely has an edge to him. Tim Daly did a great job voicing him. He has a very deep voice, and there's a couple points in the series where he can get very angry. There's points where he becomes the bad guy. We know in Legacy he is the bad guy and tries to take over Earth because he's brainwashed by Darkseid. Also in Brave New Metropolis, which is a great episode where he became this dictator sort of on an alternate Earth where Lois Lane died, and he sort of had a change of heart about how things were done by him. But in any case, this series was on another level in terms of quality and really did a great job at balancing the iconic version of Superman with doing new and different things with him and pushing the character to different areas. So I love this show, and I think that you should definitely check it out if you haven't. If you're a Superman fan, if you haven't seen this, what are you doing, man? You gotta see Superman the Animated Series. And even if you haven't seen this and you've seen Justice League, this is where it all started for that version of the character, and I think you'll really enjoy this whole show just based around that version of Superman. It did a lot to progress the character, and I think it's a very important show in terms of the history of Superman. Now, the 1940s Superman cartoon, the Max Fleischer Superman, as it's commonly referred to, this was from Fleischer Studios for the first 9 installments of this. It's not a series. These are theatrical shorts that played in front of longer films, feature films back in the early 40s. So the 9 first films were by Fleischer Studios, but then the brothers had a falling out, couldn't work together, but they wanted to keep the series going, so they renamed the studio from Fleischer Studios to Famous Studios, and the last 8 episodes were produced by them, by different showrunners, not showrunners, but different people who were behind the creation of the show, different directors and things like that. But the voice actors and stuff were still the same, and the animation quality was still the same, but they did sort of shift the focus, which was more science fiction stuff in the first 9 episodes, and this was more World War II era type stuff and a little bit more dated in the last 8. But in any case, I think one of the biggest aspects of this show that a lot of people love talking about is how amazing the animation is. I believe this process is called rotoscoping, so they traced live-action footage in some cases. The animation is so smooth and is so high quality, it puts anything to shame, including Superman the Animated Series. This show, these shorts were fantastic in terms of how they looked, and the visuals were just amazing. They still hold up today. It's just incredible that you don't see this kind of stuff anymore. Really put together by any animation studio anywhere. And these shorts had a huge budget for the time, equaling to millions of dollars per episode by today's standards, you know, counting for inflation and stuff. But at the time, it was tens of thousands of dollars being poured into these, and it shows. The quality of these episodes are fantastic. This is the Golden Age Superman in all his glory. There's that great theme. There's the great voiceover at the beginning, sort of explaining where Superman is from and just the little origin of Krypton. And also seeing that he's, the mild-mannered reporter, Clark Kent. I love everything about it. I had so much fun rewatching these. These are, 7 to 10 minute shorts, sort of on par with the length of the Looney Tunes shorts and Disney animated shorts that were around back then. And man, it is just so much fun to go back and watch these. This, to me, when I think of Superman, I think of 2 things. I think of Christopher Reeve from the Superman movies, and I think of these shorts. I think of the Max Fleischer Superman. The Golden Age, altruistic, very, if you want to call him corny, whatever. This is Superman at his purest. This is the core of Superman, which did so much to establish some of the aspects of that character that are well known today. Just everything about it is just amazing. I loved going back to see it because these were made in a simpler time, or a perceived simpler time. I mean, it was during, the World War II. There's a World War going on, so it couldn't have been too simple. But just seeing Superman there in his purest form, stopping giant robots and giant monsters, and just how he jumps and flies in this is so cool, because it's not exactly him just floating there. He still flies, but this is very early on in the character's creation, because originally he could just jump really far. And they sort of keep that in this. He can fly, but he also, whenever he gets hit from the air, he goes all the way to the ground. So there's this feeling of him jumping and getting to a certain point, and then he starts coming back down. Whenever he has Lois at the end of the episode, or a bad guy, he jumps really high in the air, and then he floats back down. It feels very realistic. And it looks realistic as well, because of the animation is just so strong. He doesn't face any of the villains that we know from the comics or anything like that. Like I said before, these are like mad scientists and giant robots. The mad scientists controlling the giant robots, or, these giant Godzilla-looking monsters or whatever. I really think the first 9 shorts are much stronger than the last 8 because, like I said, the first 9 focused on more science fiction type stuff, and the last 8, we still got a little bit of that, but we got these kind of weird ones with these racial stereotypes that haven't aged all that well, but those kind of stereotypes were around in animation back then, so it kind of just matched up with what was going on with that in those terms. But for the most part, this series inspired so many things, including Superman the Animated Series, including the look of it, including Batman the Animated Series. That was the main influence for the visuals that Bruce Timm took when he was first drawing out that version of Batman and stuff, was these Superman shorts. So without these shorts, we never would have gotten that version of Batman the Animated Series, or Superman the Animated Series, or Justice League. It influenced the DCAU from the very beginning. So Bruce Timm was heavily influenced by this, as was Paul Dini, as was basically anyone who's ever created or done anything about Superman. They took some inspiration, or at least have a lot of respect for these short films. Funnily enough, one of my first exposures to Superman was through this series. My grandparents had this VHS copy of some of the shorts, so I would pop that tape in and watch that, and that's where I was first exposed to the Man of Steel in general. So these were great to watch back then, and they're still great to watch now. If I'm comparing both of them now, let's go ahead and do that. It's hard to talk about both of them in this way because one directly influenced the other, but if we're going to choose one or the other, what's more important to Superman? What encapsulates the character more? When you think Superman, what do you think of? I'm going to have to go with the Flesher Superman shorts. Now, this is not discounting Superman the Animated Series. Like I said before, it pushed the character in a new direction, which it had to. It modernized the character in a great way and gave him a bit of an edge. But we wouldn't be there at all without the Flesher cartoons. I think that these are national treasures. If you haven't gotten them yet on DVD or anything, I mean, they're in the public domain, so you can check them out on YouTube or whatever, but the high-quality versions of this are on DVD. I think Warner Brothers released a compilation of all of them, along with a couple special feature documentaries, a couple short ones behind the scenes about, how they were created and the influence they had and stuff. Those are on DVD right now, so you should check those out. I own those, and that's where I watch them, the highest quality version, because they're from the original film print, which is owned by Warner Brothers, even though the cartoons themselves are public domain. It just goes back to the pure essence of Superman and what I think of when I think of the character, and it's the Flesher shorts. So it's not like I don't think of Superman the Animated Series when I think about the character, but in terms of the influence it had and just the sheer quality of them, I have to go with the Flesher shorts. It's hard to do because I love Superman the Animated Series. I'm sure I'm going to get, a lot of differing opinions on this. And not to say that those are wrong. I mean, if you want to say that, better stories, obviously, were better stories in Superman the Animated Series, better character work, all that, I agree with you 100%. But there's just some kind of intangible magic about those Flesher shorts that just can't be recreated, no matter what you do. I would love to see some sort of live-action version of these. I don't know if it's ever possible, like modern-day live-action, sort of a period piece in the early 40s of telling these kind of stories of Superman fighting giant monsters and robots. I think that'd be so much fun. It wouldn't exactly recreate that magic because, like I said, there's an intangible part of this that just can't be recreated, but it would be fun nonetheless to see the Golden Age Superman in all his glory with this theme or something in live action. I would just love to see it. Anyway, what do you guys think? I will really want to hear this conversation in the comments. What do you think of Superman the Animated Series when we compare it to the Flesher Superman cartoons from the 1940s? What do you think is better? What do you think was more influential on Superman? When you think of Superman, which do you think of more? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for joining me. I just wanted to get this conversation started because it's something I've been thinking about for the past few months as I've been prepping and watching Superman the Animated Series and also going back to watch these short films. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thank you for watching. If you haven't checked out the top 5 best Superman the Animated Series episodes, that's up right now over on Channel Awesome, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you right back here on the Awesome Walter YouTube channel with another video very soon.